Alright, I'm going to work out these quadratic equations that were in your summer packet, just so you can know that you're good with them. The first section, you're solving by factoring. Remember, any quadratic equation, really my favorite way to solve them is by factoring. And then if factoring doesn't work out, that's when I usually resort to quadratic formula. But if you can try factoring first, that would be great in the long run. Thing to remember, no matter how you choose to solve your quadratic equation, first thing you always do is you want to get all your terms to the same side. You need your equation to say equals 0. I'm going to say this again. If your equation does not say equals 0, do not factor, do not quadratic formula, do nothing. It must say equals 0. So like example, letter I here. You really want to move that r over, so I'm looking at a 4r squared minus r equals 0. I know some of you are looking at it and you're like, okay, I want to divide by r. Don't do that. If you do that, you're not going to get all of the answers. You might get some of the answers, but you won't get all of the answers. You lose answers that way. So instead, like I already said, get everything in the same side. Now that I have it equal to 0, I'm going to try to factor. And sometimes factoring just means, hey, look for a GCF, greatest common factor, which in this case, factor that r out. And hey, that's factored. Now that it's factored, hopefully you already know this. This should just be a review, I would hope. But set both factors equal to 0. So you have r equals 0, and you have 4r minus 1 equals 0, and now you just solve for r. r equals 0 is already solved for you. Over here, though, you solve for r, you get 1/4. So those are your two solutions. If you don't know, hopefully you do, but every quadratic equation has two solutions. If you're not getting two, if you're getting less or if you're getting more, that's not good. Next example, you might look at this and think, okay, cool, it's already factored, but remember what I told you, you have to make the equation equal to 0. So I actually need to subtract that 63 over to the left side. And at the same time, the left side needs to be distributed. You need to FOIL that out, because the way it is now, it does nothing for you because it's not equal to 0. So I'm going to distribute on the left side while I do this. I'm going to FOIL it out. I'll write it out for you. Why not? But yeah, start foiling it out, or however you want to FOIL. It's up to you. I'm just going to FOIL. I'm looking at an 8. H squared plus 4h minus 6h minus 3 equals 63. Of course, simplify. And you know what, while I'm here, let me go ahead and just subtract the 63 over to the left side, so it really becomes minus 66 equals 0. Great. Now that it's equal to 0 and it's all simplified, now I have to actually factor it back down and then set my factors equal to 0 and so on and so forth. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Now the first thing you really need to recognize is, again, GCF. Even in this case, when the GCF is just 2, that's okay. That's a good thing. It makes the problem easier for you. So let's go ahead and factor that out. Let's factor out that 2. Just pull that out. Alright, great. Now I can actually factor this trinomial that's left over here. I know a lot of you hate factoring when this isn't a 1 in front, but I mean, this is your life now. You're going to have to get used to it. You're going to have to get good at it. It's going to have to become second nature, especially in a pre-calc class, just so you know. Alright, cool. As I'm sure I already told you, day 1, I don't really care which way you go to factor, but whenever you see me factor, I just like to guess and check. Sometimes I even guess and check in my head, as dangerous as that is. But guessing and checking is really the way to go. In the long run, it's so much quicker and easier. So that's just my suggestion. That's what I would go with. In other words, I know these two terms here have to multiply to give me a 4h squared. So, you know, not a lot of options. I could do 4h and h, or I can do 2h and 2h. And you know what? Sometimes you're going to guess incorrectly, and that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. That's why we have erasers. So yeah, as I look at this, I think I'm going to try 4h and h. Just thinking off the top of my head here. Hopefully that works out. In the back, I'm going to need two terms that multiply to give me negative 33. You know, kind of a weird number. Not a lot of options, though. I mean, you got 11 times 3 is what I'm probably leaning towards. And you have 33 times 1. I'm not really feeling that too much. Let's go with the 11 times 3. And the way I'm going to go with it, I'm going to put the 11 here. I'm going to put the 3 here. It's a negative 33, so I know one of them's got to be negative. Just thinking ahead, I've factored so many things in my life. I'm gonna guess that the plus and minus go there. And if you're ever unsure about your factoring, guess what? Just FOIL that out and check it real quick, and you should be good. If I were to FOIL this out, 4h squared minus 12h plus 11h minus 33, and then when you combine like terms, it's exactly what you need it to be. Perfect. So now you set your factors equal to 0, and we can finish this problem. Now out here, that is just a 2. There's no variable out there, so this won't even give you an answer, even if you do try to solve it, right? 2 equals 0. That doesn't even make sense. It's not even a true statement. So I'm just going to kind of ignore that and just do the other ones. So again, I will get 2 answers. Once it's all said and done, I'll get negative 11 over 4, and I get 3. All right, cool. You know, in the long run, I'm not going to be taking that long to do these problems, but we're starting up, you know, the first week of school. I get it. I'm going to take it a little slower here. Yeah. What else we got? Okay, part 3. Good old fractions. Everyone loves fractions. While I'm writing it, I'm going to go ahead and get everything to the same side so I can get my equals 0 going on. So I'm going to subtract the 1/2 x. And I'm going to subtract the 15 over 4. And there we go, equals 0. All right, cool. Even though there's fractions, you don't have to keep fractions. It's an equation. Since it's an equation, you know you can definitely just multiply both sides by 4. And the reason I like 4 in this example is because look at those denominators. When I multiply all these by 4, all those little denominators will simplify. So check it out. 4 times 1/4 is just 1, so that's just x squared. 4 times negative 1/2 is just negative 2. 4 times negative 15 over 4, you know, 4s would just cancel, right? So it's just minus 15. And the great news is that's still just 0. And now this is just, this is math 1 right here. Just factor it down. And set each factor equal to 0. You got your answers. There you go. So yeah, that's solving by factoring. Up next, make sure you can see that there. Up next is just quadratic formula. I really don't have a lot to say about that. You should already know that. Your teachers probably taught you this cool song to go with it, blah, blah, blah. I'll show you one quick example, and then that's really, yeah, I'm going to wrap it up after that. Let me choose a good one here. I'm going to go, I think I'm going to go with the very first one, actually. Yeah. First, you still have to get it equal to 0. Part I, luckily, luckily that's already done for us. So no big deal. You know, if you were doing the next 2 problems, you'd have a lot of simplifying to do. You have to get everything to the same side. You have to make it equal to 0. You got to distribute and combine like terms, all that fun stuff. But this one, we are good to go. Alright, at this point, it really is just knowing quadratic formula and knowing which ones you plug in and knowing how to simplify and watch out for imaginaries. They definitely will pop up when you're doing quadratics. But yeah, here's your quadratic formula in case you forgot. You're going to be expected to know this at any given moment. You got to stay ready. But yeah, I mean, there's your A. Probably hear my cats in the background. There's your A, there's your B, there's your C. So yeah, you just plug it right into the formula. The opposite of B, which is positive 3, plus or minus square root B squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. Great. Alright, and then from here, of course, you know I'm going to want you to simplify. So I go inside these radicals. Negative 3 squared is 9. This will be minus 16. And 4 times 2 just gives you 8. And then looking ahead, this will be imaginary because, look, you got a square root of a negative. Right? Square root of negative 7. So just because you know you're square rooting negative, that's how I know, well, okay, it's going to be imaginary. Which is perfectly fine. They still count as solutions. Only thing to really remember is to simplify. Anytime you have a negative inside your radical, you know that really becomes an I. So at the end of the day, just pull that I out outside of the radical. And that's really the best we can do. And if you want to put the I at the end, that's perfectly fine. I don't care. It's the same thing. Whatever makes you comfortable. And this does count as 2 solutions because of the plus and minus, so we're good. We're done. And yeah, just a real quick recap on solving quadratics. We're going to solve so many quadratics this year, it needs to become second nature. You don't have to even think about it. You just know, okay, let me solve this real quick. Boom, done. So yeah, if you do still have questions, there's a million videos on the internet. You can send me a message and I can help you out even more on the side. Yeah, but I believe that's it. Have a great day.